Surveillance has overwhelmingly become a large part of popular culture. From reality TV and consumer products to social media, much of today's popular culture revolves around the idea of surveillance. To fully understand the origins of this surveillance-infused culture, we have to look back at Michael Foucault's idea of panopticism. In David Thompson's article, The New Visibility, he explains the panopticon as Jeremy Bentham's plan for an ideal penitentiary that has a watchman in the central tower that can always see the surrounding prisoners. Thompson explains how prisoners are subjected to a state of permanent visibility, and as Foucault states, the prisoner becomes the principle of his own subjection. This is where the idea of panopticism was born, the surveillance of everyday situations. Panopticism bleeds into many aspects of popular culture. To start, let's look at reality TV. As Riddle and Simone explain, some reality TV programs provide gripping competitions, for example, Survivor, or provide viewers with potentially useful information. But a growing subgenre of reality TV simply allows audiences to watch people do nothing more than go about their daily routines. We are allowed to watch them run errands, eat meals, take vacations, plan parties, argue, and fall in and out of love. Surveillance has become part of the everyday lives of these reality TV stars. Storey points out that part of reality TV's appeal is that it appears to enable us to assume the role of Bentham's imaginary governor as we take pleasure in the ability to observe without being observed, to be involved without being involved, and to judge without being judged. We are drawn in by the seemingly mundane aspects of people's lives. Storey goes on to show that there is something about reality TV that draws people in an almost addictive way. Could it be that the idea of watching and being watched has become appealing to us? Let's move on to consumer products. According to Fortune.com, the first personal-sized drones went onto the market 6 years ago in 2010. They were first launched at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, Nevada. By 2012, the use of personal drones had grown so quickly that Congress had to implement a plan with the FAA to integrate drones into federal airspace. These remotely controlled drones often have cameras integrated into their systems. Now, the everyday person can be filming you and watching you without you even knowing. According to Lyon, people have varying degrees of receptivity to surveillance. He says that it differs depending on cultural and national contexts. For example, post 9/11 in the US, people became much more willing to be surveilled in order to manage the risks of terrorism. Beck discusses how, in modern society, the way we organize and respond to risks is called a risk society. This risk society shows why, in some places where the risks are high, we are willing to allow surveillance into our everyday lives. Finally, let's look at social media and surveillance. To look at social media adequately, it is important to explain the concept of hyperrealism. Hyperrealism is the inability to separate reality from a simulation of reality. As Storey explains, in hyperreality, the real and the imaginary continually collapse into each other. In social media, the user subjects themselves to a hyperreal form of surveillance, where they present a highlights reel of their lives to people around them. This can be seen as the simulation aspect of hyperrealism. The highlights reel of selected surveillance brings up the idea of face negotiation theory. According to Griffin, Ledbetter, and Sparks, Stella Ting-Toomey's face negotiation theory discusses how, when someone's self-image is threatened, they have to react and try to save face. People use face work, or verbal and non-verbal communication, used to restore someone's self-image. Social media surveillance is a way of saving face, a way of building up a particular self-image. The problem with social media is that there are so many people using it and showing off their highlights reel that it is easy to get lost in the crowd. According to Thompson, the struggle to be seen and heard, the struggle to make others see and hear has become an inseparable part of the social and political conflicts of our time. Surveillance is intricately connected to popular culture. And as you can now see, how it connects with popular culture is changing the way we see the world around us.